You're calling from a 978 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hello. You're on.
Oh, hey. Oh. Sorry. I was just kind of doing something. Sorry about that. Hi,
Go
Michael.
ahead. Hey, what's up?
So my name is Sid, and I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a 25-year-old Indian kid, and I'm a medical student.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk about two things: racism and kind of like the left's approach of dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the first one, and the second was this whole like concept of like fat acceptance and like body positivity.
Why don't you
the
pick?
whole idea of,
Why don't you pick one and let's go with the first one?
Okay,
Okay,
sorry,
go
yeah.
ahead. No problem. Yeah.
So yesterday, right? You guys put up a video called "Reasoning with Racists is Pointless."
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I don't really agree with that. And I kind of have like a, I guess, philosophical approach for that.
Okay.
And so I guess try to hear me while I go through this. But
Okay, but be mindful of time.
people that are
please.
gay.
Please.
Right. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
So people that are gay, right? They're kind of like born that way, right? And so it's bigoted for people on the right to say that, oh, they've made this terrible choice. They've made these terrible life choices, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we realize that like they didn't really have that choice.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same way, I feel like you can't really also control like the environment that you're born in.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of these people that are kind of on the right, who are born in this environment that is conducive to being racist, right? Like, for example, that Trump rally in Montana a couple months back, where there was like a video of like those two kids who were saying
Yep.
like, you know, like America's too full or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that the Mexicans should leave.
Right.
I feel like how much of the blame can really be put on those kids, right? Because like
No
at
one's
what
blaming.
point,
I just want to say
do those-
just two quick things, or three quick things, and then Matt wants to jump in. But I'm just going to lay it out first. And I'm not trying to be difficult with you, but it's like I'm actually not very invested in innate arguments either. So this might sound provocative to certain people, but like if somebody chose to be gay, I would still support their rights. I really don't care like where this is coming from. And I'm very functional. So being gay, whether it's who you are genetically or who you are as a combination of environmental and genetic or who you are environmentally, is not harmful to other people. Being racist is. So, regardless of what produced
No, I agree
it.
with that.
No, I know
I
you
guess
agree,
my
but I'm just
argument
saying,
is
but
that
I'm just
the
saying,
choice
but
of
I'm
it,
just
right?
saying it's a different
Right.
category in terms of what we're dealing with here fundamentally.
Right.
Then the second thing I would say is, yeah, I certainly don't blame kids, and I'm not really terribly interested in blaming people, which leads to my third point, which is like, maybe we underemphasize this. I think there are some people that do really noble work, like that guy Christian Piccolini, who does the exiting hate work. I think that there are people who do a lot of work in civic and cultural space, some of which I think is actually frankly dumb and unhelpful for a variety of reasons, some of which I think is incredibly helpful and really socially beneficial, and I totally support it. But as a means of like political focus, let alone a sanctimonious op-ed in the New York Times, which is what we were responding to specifically, it's like, sort of like, oh, well, don't be too rude to people about their ideas or whatever. I think that that's nonsense, but I don't have any problem with the idea of, I think people do engage in that, and I think it's really valuable work. Yeah.
What I would say is I agree with one thing I think you're getting at, which is that like I'm from North Dakota. White people like me were basically given land in North Dakota to settle it and ensure against like future black votes of slaves that were given votes, right? And that determinism is something we definitely need to bear in mind, especially when people get removed from their immigration experience and they become just sort of this white mass of MAGA, which is a lot of what we're dealing with. However, you are wrong that we don't control our environment environment in a certain way. The clip that we played earlier where nobody would raise their hand to defend what ICE is doing is because we are influencing the environment.
Right.
So what we're doing when we criticize racism and basically are antagonistic to racists is creating that unsafe environment for racism. And that's the project. I mean,
Right.
the actual, what we do on an individual level with individual racists, honestly, like what you do in your personal life that's for you, but that's not I don't think that's a huge part of a political project.
Yeah, I agree. I think so many problems today actually is in some ways the notion. I'm sorry, for me, the personal is political. I think I would minimize that. I mean, yeah, it's a functional thing. And
it goes back to what
Right.
I was saying earlier about power, right? I mean, we are inflicting consequences on certain behaviors. And as a result, those behaviors hopefully will go down a bit. Also, racism is not rational. So you can't really reason or logic someone out of it. The way these things change is often much more gradual and complex and
I
social.
think also and emotional. I mean, I have to say, like, one area that I do actually want to check myself a little bit is it's a great comedic trope, and it's totally true that so many people on the right do revise their positions when they have the personal experience of something, and that is, yes, that does not speak well of them morally, but at the same time, like, I don't know if that's what it takes. I like Assad Haider's idea too, that especially for people who are not like, Trump MAGA people, but people who might just be sort of like middling and kind of like, sort of off, but not really destructive on those issues, that the best way is, not, haranguing them and speech codes and all that type of thing, but actually going out and engaging in actual political projects together. I think that's totally on point. But I think especially for purposes of people in media, Matt's point is really important, because if you have a platform and you're basically like mediating politics and culture, and in a certain way you're elevating certain principles and certain ways of being, and you're de-elevating others, it's extremely important that we destroy racism on that level and have it be a brand that is pathetic, immoral, and disgusting.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
And also different tactics apply to different people,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
Because if we're talking about people with a media platform, they're not working class. If you're on like Fox News or whatever, you're our class enemies. I'm willing to break out the big guns and like say, I don't know, ruin someone's career. Whereas the only people that I care about at all in terms of my politics are the working class, and different tactics do apply. And maybe in one case it's good to inflict penalties for being racist, and in another case it's much better to just gradually through collective struggle. Like, this is what I was talking about with unions before as well. Like, people go into unions with racist attitudes sometimes, and through struggling and realizing they have common interests with people of other races, they become less racist. And it's not magic. It's not rocket science. This is a real thing that happens.
Appreciate the call, man. Call in again soon. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
A few more.